Welcome back to another video of the series on how to create your own game in the Crowded Party Game Collection. When we stopped last time, we already had a game which somehow was playable, but we had this issue that you nearly never would hit an asteroid, and it's somehow strange to play that, and I think one should die. So in this episode we'll give some finishing touches to our game. So what I thought of what we could change is there's this explosion thing. You can see it. If I drag it, you may be able to see it. I don't know whether it will be visible on the recording. It's just like a round circle, a white round circle, and I thought maybe we can just let our rocket explode and limit the number of our rockets. So let's do this first. So here in the unbutton event of the player, we create a rocket, and now we say either rocket has to be null, so it must be our first shot, or rocket dot delete frag. So it should be true. So don't need this anymore. So this will lead to the fact that only if the button is pressed and our rocket died or didn't exist yet, we can shoot another one. Let's have a look. I press shoot again, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Okay, so there may be an issue with the leaving screen thing. Okay. I have to look into it. Maybe there's an issue. So let's just go with a simpler approach. If the x position is smaller than 0, or x position is larger than 1920, or y get y smaller 0, or get y larger 1080. This dot delete. Okay, I won't even try it. I'm quite sure that it will work now. So now in our rocket, I thought maybe we should as well add that you can shoot rockets with rockets. So if other instance of rocket is nice as well. Now let's give our rocket a possibility to explode. Public int explosion counter. So I think of this explosion counter that it is 0 when we begin, and when we collide with something here, we don't delete ourselves, but we set our collision, our explosion counter to 1, and if our explosion counter is larger 0, we increment it. So this will count the frames after the explosion. Okay, be incremented, so I have to increment it. Let's keep it easier. That. Okay, we have to rethink this thing. Let's keep rockets out of the game first, so that rockets can shoot rockets. One could add it, but with this other delete it would lead to strange behavior. Okay, so here's the explosion counter now. We switch if explosion counter is more than 1, so we're still flying through the air. We draw the same old thing. With other ways, we'll draw our explosion. Missile slash explosion dot png at our position. Get x, get y, z is not relevant. So, and here we scale the whole thing depending on our explosion counter. Let's say start at 10 and we will take 70 frames. So this should lead to the whole thing scaling up, since this increments. Why am I choosing 70? That's just a guess. After the explosion is over, I want to delete the thing. Okay, and now we change our size. So the explosion that's not what I meant to do, is 256 pixels. So when this happens, we call this dot set bounding box new axis align bounding box get x get y, and width is 256 and height is 256. And now on collision with an instant with another asteroid, we have to check how far our collision went. So if it's an asteroid and either the explosion counter is smaller than 1, this means we didn't explode yet, or let's add a different point. We calculate the distance between the other thing and us. Math.square root, math.pow, other dot get x minus this dot get x to the power of 2. So this just calculates the distance, the Euclidean distance. So if you ever wondered what maths are for, here you see some. And if the distance is smaller, then so 128 would be the full size, because we are calculating distance from the center, and our circle is 256 pixels big times explosion counter divided by 17. Okay, let's have a look. I would be surprised if it works at the first time. Rarely that lucky. 16 missiles. Okay, what will happen? Nothing? Did I? So there's stuff happening. Strange stuff is happening. Ah. So this may be an issue. Because we don't delete ourselves. Okay, I struggled a little bit till I found the issue. The problem was that I didn't write .0 here, so this was an integer division. So if this is smaller than 70, it will return 0, because dividing an integer by an integer is to return an integer. It's a strange Java thing. So you either write .0 here, or I just changed this to double on the top as well to avoid future errors. I saw some other things which we had to add. First, this set velocity is 0,0.false. This will stop our rocket moving. It's strange if the explosion keeps moving. And the second thing is to change this line. So before we here stood only 10, which led to the fact that every other asteroid colliding with our explosion led to resetting the explosion. So by using the maximum of both the current value and 10, we avoid that. Okay, so now I only wanted to add one last thing. Well, let's go back. I want to change another thing because has to be beautiful what we were trying to do. So we want that the explosion is not white but in the color of our player. So I just copied this getting the player color, which we used here for setting the score display color. Set color player color dot red player color dot green color dot blue. Let's draw it semi-transparent. And here again he's got an issue with the floating point value. I have to change that. API dot reset color. Okay, now we go to the player. Let's add a boolean. Is that? It's normally false, but on collision, here, on collision with an asteroid, the player dies. So if the instance of asteroid this is true, other dot delete, and now let's make sure that one has to be alive. So not is that. So now one can shoot if one is dead. And yeah, we have to add a collision box to the player. This set bounding box new axis. Bounding box get x get y. Auto completion. So how big is our image? I have to look it up. Tower base properties 70 70. One bracket. So now it should be working, and we additionally should add that it's somehow visible. So if not is dead, we set the player color. Otherwise, we just set the color to be black. Okay, and one last thing, let's add a counter. Public int time. Let's use a double. We're learning out of errors. Time equals 0. That's the wrong position. I want to put it into the game. I don't want to forget it. Arc. Time equals 0, and on activate time should be 0. And we increment time. And I want more asteroids to spawn over time. So we change this to 1 minus time times. So I think it's around 60 seconds a game per 60 frames. So it should be 60 times 60 is 3600. So time divided by 3600 times 0.8. Oh wait, 0.08. Don't know whether that works. One probably has to adjust the value. Let's have a look at our final game. Missiles. Start game. More asteroids. Okay, they become more over time. Oh, there was something wrong. There, somebody died. June should be. Okay, we can die, but our explosion radius is somehow wrong. Let's have a look. Oh. So, in the game, I just realized that our game doesn't end. We have to add one thing. The function is finished. Just return true. This signals to the game that it can end our game at any time. Otherwise it would wait until it becomes true, and then it would end the game afterwards. Okay, another thing I realized is that we have to make sure that the phone exists. So phone dot get stick 0 not equals null. Otherwise this will lead to our games crashing afterwards when the user interface is changed. So in the player, add this just to make sure everything works out. Okay, so I found the problem, and the issue is that we didn't have the right dimensions for our explosion. They were the double of the size they should have been. So if we just divide them by 2, everything works out. If we now look at the game, we've got a game which is, to be honest, I don't think it's very fun. If you follow the tutorial and have your own game, maybe you can add some changes, and maybe you've got some ideas what you have to change to make it fun. But since this tutorial was not intended to create a game which focuses on being fun, but showing you how the development process of the game collection works out, I'm quite fine with that. And maybe it motivates you to try just play around with the API. I think this is the best way to learn things. So we've got the game. Hopefully I'll hit an asteroid. This one. No. Nope. Nope. And now I died. Okay. Bad luck. Then you just have to believe me that it works out, or okay, fast forward. Try again. This time I'll succeed. Shit. Next try. Yeah, okay. But you see things are working out now, although the game isn't too fun. So this is the end of developing our game. In the next section, I'll show you how to publish your game and upload it to the Steam Workshop. Till then.